If you're like most people, when you want a kitchen appliance, you simply go to a retail store or online and buy one. And that works for most of us most of the time. But you might also find that you have buyer's regret. Maybe you spent too much money on something that turned out to be junk, or you just don't use the appliance nearly as much as you thought you would. So what if there was a way to spend way less money on kitchen appliances, get superior quality, and, well, maybe have some fun in the process? Well, there is, and it's called the thrift store. Today I'm going to share 5 types of appliances that populate thrift store shelves and cost just a fraction of what they would new. Hello and welcome to I Want to Cook. My name is Chef Matt and this channel is all about helping you be a better cook. And yes, we have another thrift-centric episode. Now, over the years, I have saved thousands of dollars by buying kitchenware from the thrift store, from buying them secondhand. And I've made many videos about the process, from the do's and don'ts of what you should and shouldn't buy at a thrift store, to even how I restored an all-clad pan to like new condition after buying it for just $5. But today we're going to focus on the things that use an electrical outlet in your kitchen, appliances. And it's with appliances especially that you can save a boatload of money by buying at the thrift store. If you've shopped for even like a coffee maker new, you know that they cost a lot of money these days, especially something like a Keurig or a Pod coffee maker. But again, if you're shopping at the thrift store, you can find things used or even new in the box for a fraction of the price of buying new at retail. Now, a few ground rules before I share my 5 appliances you should be shopping for at a thrift store. No matter what kind of appliance it is, if it has a plug, I want you to test it out. Any thrift store worth its salt will have a power outlet where you can test things out. I would also shop at thrift stores that have some sort of return policy on their electronics goods. The ones I shop at, they offer between 2 and 7 days to return the item, usually for a store credit, but definitely ask before you buy. And don't discount the vintage stuff. You know, things that are old and are still working, well, that's a really good indicator that they're still going to work years from now. If something like these things that are like decades old are still working, they're probably going to work well into the future. So don't discount the vintage stuff. And keep in mind that the vintage stuff is often made in the USA. I hear a lot of people say, oh, I want to buy American, I want to buy things that are made in the USA and nothing is anymore. Well, all you have to do is go to a thrift store and buy something like this. Both this mixer and this food processor, well, they are made in the USA. Okay, so let's get to the appliances that you should be buying at the thrift store, and the first one is a bread maker. I can almost guarantee that if you just walk into any thrift store, you're going to see a bread maker. It's kind of crazy. Oftentimes I see many of them on the store shelves. And you know, bread makers, they are not cheap if you buy them new, like $100 or more. Well, they're like maybe $20 at the thrift store, if that. I got this one. This is kind of a high-end model. I think it retailed for $150 or something, and I paid like 20 bucks for it. I think it was actually new in the box. And this is a really great bread maker. I use this for making my gluten-free bread. But if you're in the market for a bread maker, before you plunk down a lot of your hard-earned cash by buying new, go check out the thrift store. Okay, the second appliance you should definitely be buying at a thrift store is a crock pot or a slow cooker. Again, just like the bread makers, I see these almost every time I walk into a thrift shop. There was just so many of them made. This one's actually really special because it is a Corningware slow cooker. So instead of having a stone cooking dish like most of them do, this one's actually made out of Corning's pyroceram. So that means that you can actually use it on the stove to like sear meat before you start slow cooking in it. It's really great. And again, I bought this years ago for, I I don't know, maybe $10. And this is one that you can't even buy anymore. But if you're in the market for a new crock pot, let's say, that usually costs maybe $40 or $50, well, you can get it for a fraction of that price used. And I made a whole video on like Instant Pots versus slow cookers, and I'll link to that in the description below. Okay, the third appliance I definitely recommend shopping for at a thrift store is a food processor. I picked this vintage one up again years ago. I really like the look of it. It's got kind of that like 80s or 90s rad design. I mean, it just looks so cool. This old Hamilton Beach, made in the USA. Still works to this day. I make salsa in it. I make purees. It's really, really cool. I only paid $10 for this. And again, I'm sure that's a fraction of what it was new. You can also find newer ones. I see Cuisinarts sometimes still in the box for a fraction of the price that you would pay new. The fourth appliance that I see all the time at thrift stores are blenders, like this one that again I bought years ago. This is another vintage one. This is an Oster, made in the USA, built like a tank, still works today. In fact, we've used this for quite a few videos. We've made everything from gazpacho to mayonnaise in this thing, just a workhorse. And again, it kind of looks cool too. I mean, this isn't something that you're going to see on every countertop. Of course, if you want something more modern, well, I see those all the time at thrift stores, and they cost just a few dollars. Okay, and the fifth type of appliance are, well, I'm going to categorize them as the oddball or specialty machines. Everything from, well, let's say an indoor grill like that Zojirushi that I found, to this. This is a mochi maker. We made a whole video on this, and we made Japanese rice cakes, those mochi balls, at home, and they were amazing. And again, new, a machine like this costs several $100s. I think I paid, what, like 20 or 30 for this thing? And we use it every single week. But there are lots of different devices that could fit this category. Maybe you want to get one just because you're curious, like that indoor s'more maker that I got. Well, that turned out not to be a great thing. I actually ended up, I think, just redonating it. But there again, I spent just a few dollars instead of buying something new that would have cost like 80 bucks. Sometimes you can even find appliances new in the box. This week, I just found this ice cream maker, a Cuisinart, brand new in the box, and it only cost $10.99. And with the hot weather that we've been having, I think this is going to be paying for itself very, very quickly. I'm also seeing a lot of those like Keurig or pod coffee makers these days. I see espresso machines. Again, things that would cost quite a bit of money if you were to buy new are just a few dollars at the thrift store. So maybe it's something that you just want to try out, you're not really sure about. Pick one up cheap, see if you like it. So those are some of my suggestions on appliances that you should be shopping for at the thrift store. I'd love to hear from you. What have you found that works? Maybe what have you found that doesn't work? Put that in the comments below. Okay, trivia time. Last week, I asked you to identify this odd looking circular device. Well, we had several of you correctly identify it. We had Thanatos, we had Mouse Pudding, and Bryant Allen Smith 8303 all correctly identify this as a mango cutter / mango slicer. I actually made a video on this, I think it was last year when mangoes were in season, and how this works. It's really a cool device, and it is just another thing where you can save money by slicing up your own mangoes if you have one of these versus buying them pre-sliced in the store. And I'll put a link to that video in the description below. Now, in keeping with our thrifted appliance theme, who's going to be the first to identify this thing? And yes, I am kind of covering up its name, and I'll do some select shots here so it doesn't totally give itself away. But who's going to be the first to identify what this appliance is? I will let you know next week the correct answer, and I'll let you know what it's used for. Until then, thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and Happy cooking!